This meeting is being recorded.
All right, Chris, we're live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to, is it episode eight?
I believe it is, yeah.
Yeah, crazy. The semester's moving fast. Crazy we're already at episode eight. This is crazy, Shout out to Ian Romay. He's the first person to post our YouTube link to their main public Instagram. And yeah, we got I think a couple thousand views in the last video. It was crazy. You know, we're crazy amount of comments too. It was awesome. So that shout out Ian May for that. And I think today's gonna be, we're going back to our roots. We're just gonna be me and Ian just talking it up, talking about our lives. And I feel like, you know, we're at a point where we're both busy with, finals and everything, but we have a lot. We have some things we can share. Yeah, so it's gonna be an exciting episode, and I think it's a good break from our guests. Talk about some research articles we have and other life experiences. So I'm excited to get into it, Ian.
Yeah, me too. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So as always, make sure to
Looks like we lost Chris. Chris?
Okay, yeah, no, that's kind of embarrassing. I don't know what just happened. I think I accidentally clicked refresh. Um, but anyways, like I was saying, make sure to smash that like button. And yeah, we can get into a little bit of updates about ourselves. I can start with myself. So, you know, last weekend we did not record a podcast episode last week, being that I was away and I was in DC competing at nationals for rugby, and it went decently well. I mean, I was a little disappointed, being that we lost to the champions in the first round, which is kind of annoying. But we bounced back and we ended up going 2-2 on the weekend, which is pretty good. Best our club has ever done in the history, and we placed I think it was 12th in the nation. So shout out to the boys. Awesome, awesome season. Um, honestly, great times. Really busy season, being that we literally traveled every weekend, but I loved it. It was awesome. And then, yeah, it was a lot of fun to go out and compete at DC against all these great teams. And it was a lot of fun. And then I also had finals this week, which I know Ian can talk about too. And so I kind of locked myself in the room. I had to delete Instagram. Crazy. I love me some Instagram reels, but I had to lock in. This time of year, I always have to lock in, and I did that, and everything went pretty well. So yeah, and I'm done with my finals, and life is good again. Now I can relax. And what else is gonna happen? Oh, and tomorrow, shout out to Emerson Lewis. We are doing our fantasy basketball punishment. He will be covered in peanut butter, and you'll have to run a 5K covered in peanut butter in the 85-degree weather. So that you don't lose the fantasy league. That's all I can say about that. Anyways, that'll be fun. And Sunday I leave for Florida. Yeah, I'm going to Florida for a trip, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. There'll be a lot of, hopefully, good stories to share from that on our next episode, hopefully. But yeah, overall, doing well. And I'll turn it over to Ian. Anything you want to share?
Yeah. So obviously been a busy time for me as well. So I'll just pick out some of the highlights. Obviously I got a haircut, so
That's
I
awesome.
yeah, I mean that was a big
Crazy.
development.
I know.
Really exciting moment. Danielle at the University Hairstylists, I think she really did a great
Whoa,
job.
whoa, whoa! You get your haircut on campus?
Yeah, of course.
No, you do not.
Yeah, in the basement of the student center.
No one uses that.
Yeah,
No, you have to be.
plenty of people use it.
You have to be one of the only people that actually use that.
I was talking.
Literally.
I was talking to the university, the student body
No.
president. He does it too. So I mean,
Is he chopped too?
bro, Okay.
Like,
Okay.
no, it's actually a decent haircut. You know,
Well,
I kind of like the flow though. I like the flow. To be honest with you, I like when
yeah.
you had your flow. You chopped all the flow off. I don't,
I mean, that's a younger man's game, I'm just trying to. I'm really
no.
like.
You went back to your roots with your standard haircut, but I like when you have your flow.
No, no, no. This isn't the standard. Like the high school haircut was a lot shorter.
That's true. I like this one better in the high school, and that's for sure.
All right. Well, in addition to getting my haircut last Friday, I saw Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith in theaters.
I wanted to see that, but I was busy with rugby. I want to go at some point. I don't know if they're still in theaters, are they? I don't know.
I'm not sure. Yeah, it was 20th anniversary, so special release. It was a good time.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, and then let's see. I haven't had finals yet. I just finished classes on Wednesday, so my finals are going to be next week. So I'm currently getting ready. But yeah, and then I'll just add on. So for all the viewers out there who are maybe a little bit more curious about the rugby tournament and the results, I actually had the chance to tune in to some of the games, and I want to give a big shout out to Chris. In their first game,
Wow.
which he mentioned, they lost to the eventual champions. There was this play when one of the kids on the other team broke away, right? And Chris's whole team kind of like fell behind. They couldn't get him. And Chris just like takes off. And you see him, he's like streaking across the field. He's like all the way back. And like he like, got to the kid like right at the end. Right. I don't actually know if he stopped him, but it was just like hustle and grit. That's really what you want to see from your guys on the field. It's all heart. So just wanted to give Chris a big shout out for that specific play.
Thank you, Ian. He actually didn't end up scoring, so my efforts were kind of for loss. But I did make him so he didn't center it, so I think they missed the kick after. So I saved us some points.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was a disappointing game. We put up the most amount of points on them, the champions, at any other team at the tournament. So no, that was impressive, and we were winning for a good point, a good solid portion of the game. So
Right.
it was unfortunate, but anyways, I scored, Ian. I scored for you. Hope you know that. Shout
I
out.
know.
I was
Thank
thinking, I
you.
was thinking about you.
Thank you.
With all that motivational quotes and everything. It really inspired me.
Thanks,
So yeah,
Chris.
that was awesome.
All right. Do we have any updates from the group? Any big shout outs we want to give?
Mm. Oh, shout out Lorelai. I will be seeing her Sunday. Actually, we're gonna hang out.
Really?
So yeah, yeah,
Where?
in Knoxville.
Ooh,
Yeah.
it's
So
awesome.
shout out to Lorelai for that. Hopefully I can get more updates on like her life, and then next episode, I can just share it all. See.
Yeah.
Anyways, what else? I don't know. I don't know. I think Nate finished finals. Shout out Nate. He's in Miami right now with his girlfriend. So that's cool, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah, getting to it. What
What?
else?
What?
Yeah, I don't know what to say.
You just say
I don't know.
getting to it?
Getting to it. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Getting to what?
Just hanging, they're hanging out, like, getting like just having a like, enjoying like post semester life.
Oh, like getting jiggy with it type of.
Like they're just getting loose. They're just like,
Oh, I see.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I see.
I don't know what you thought I was talking about, but I don't know. What else? Oh crap, it's my sister's prom right now.
Oh my God, junior prom?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I gotta see how that went. What else? Oh, it's my brother's pledge initiation party tonight. Sorry I'm missing it, Jack, but hope you have fun. Trying to think. I don't know if I have any other updates. I don't know. More has been crazy. Wait. Okay.
What's up?
Interesting. Never mind. I don't know. I think Taya finished finals too.
Hey, go
But
Taya.
yeah, yeah, that's great. I think that's it though. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of sad. Like the semester's ending. Uh, like I mean, last year was sad. There was a couple seniors that I really liked, but this year there's so many like seniors, especially on the rugby team, that like I became really close with, and it's like, holy crap, like I don't know when I'm gonna see you next. And it's
Yeah,
like I can't, I don't know. As I saw a couple of them like walking like past the dining hall, and I was like, holy crap, like I don't know if I'll see him again. So it's like kind of sad. Like I don't know. I don't know if you have that feeling, Ian, but
yeah,
it's weird.
yeah, for
But
sure. It's like the same thing in my dorm. We've got probably 10 or 15 seniors who have been super involved and who I've gotten to know pretty well. It's hard to believe that they're done college. Hard to believe that we're halfway done college too.
I don't think that's actually crazy to think that I'm technically an upperclassman now. Crazy to think about. Like it feels like just yesterday I was like starting college, you know. But like at the same time, I don't know. I just like think about how I was then and how I am now, and like even just like appearance wise, and like I don't know. I've just like changed so much at the same time, even though it feels so short, like long ago. Like I'm a completely different person at the same time, which is kind of even weirder to think about that like so much has changed in such a short amount of time. But anyways, yeah,
Yeah.
crazy. But yeah, I think you know both, but like just like a segue into our main topic of this week is finals are coming up. Everyone's stressed. You know, there's a fine balance between being stressed and being productive with your stress, and then being overly stressed. And I think we got one of the smartest guys I know here, and Ian. And Ian, how when you're going to finals, what's like your mentality? Like, how are you thinking about going through things? And do you have any advice, to someone maybe who's watching who might be a bot and like kind of dumb and might struggle academically? How can they become Ian Talty?
Um, all right. Well, I mean, I appreciate that, but I'll correct some things. I don't want to give the viewers the wrong impression. I don't really like think of myself as I don't really associate myself with the word smart or intelligent. I think that those words are kind of oddly used by people. I think that you
Yeah.
know I've always associated kind of any success that I've had in school or any other kind of academic endeavor. I've associated that with more hard work than like just ability that I have. And I think that really like what I've done in the classroom is not that unique. I think that anybody could do it. I think it's all about, kind of molding an interest and a passion for learning with, a good work ethic, which I think anybody's capable of developing. Um, so, I mean, really, when I go into finals, I mean, I think that there are some people who really struggle with the finals period because they've been kind of doing whatever during the rest of the semester. But, I've been working hard. I've been putting the time in during the semester so that by the time I get to finals, I know it's the same with you, Chris. It's like you get to finals and it's like, it's really the final push. Like you've been doing all the
Yeah.
work, right? You just got to get across the finish line.
Yeah.
Don't really look at it as like much of a big deal. It's just like a couple more tests. You've already been doing it all semester. So, I mean, I really, obviously it's more content, more time, more preparation, but I don't know. I try to view it as pretty similar to any other thing that I have to put the time and effort in for.
Yeah. I mean that no, that was great. I completely agree with pretty much everything you said. Um, I do feel like, you know, like yeah, I completely agree. Like doing well in school, it's a game. And you don't necessarily have to be like I don't know. Looking at myself, I would not say I'm like the ever. I don't think I'm ever been the smartest person in the room in my life ever. But I feel like if you know how to play the game, and you're able to be passionate and put in a good effort, it really can push you to the top and push you over that hump and put you in a great place. I think I think I completely agree with Ian, and I feel like that's one of the things you do really well, Ian, is being able to like walk in, really. And I think another thing is just being confident in yourself. I know a lot of people who get like, anxious and like, about tests and like, don't believe in their self. But I feel like and everything you got to do, I don't want to sound like an egomaniac or like anything, but like I genuinely believe I can like if I put effort into something, I believe I'll figure out whatever it is. whatever it may be. Not saying I'm the best at anything or will be the best at anything, but I feel like just believing in yourself and having that like, idea in your head that like everything's gonna work out well and having that positive mindset really helps you focus and in the long term even and do better. Being that, if you're like constantly being pessimistic about yourself, not believing in your abilities, that like self-doubt can kind of transcend into, like when you see a question you don't know how to do, it's like, holy crap, like I didn't study this, so like that you don't want to have the mentality. You want to be like, yeah, I didn't see that. I haven't seen this question before, but like, hey, I'm smart. I believe in myself. I'm gonna figure this out. Take a deep breath and work through it. I think and like obviously that's just like one like test taking strategy, but I feel like that applies to a lot of other things in life as well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think that like a lot of times what you're talking about with this anxiety and the stress, like a lot of that times that kind of negatively mixes with poor study habits and
Yeah.
kind of compounds the effect of kind of negative feelings towards school and tests,
Mhm.
and just getting ready for like a final season in general. I think especially one big strategy that a lot of people seem to like to use that really pretty much all the research on it shows that it's ineffective is cramming, trying to study a lot the
Yeah.
night before or trying to cram a ton of information into a short period of time. Pretty much, everything says that that's not helpful. You're not going to get the information down that way. If it's the night before a test, it's actually more beneficial just to get enough sleep than it is to try to cram in a little bit more information. I mean, realistically, if you've been going to class, taking notes, right, the information's in there somewhere. So
Yeah.
making sure that mentally you're at your best rather than trying to make sure that you've actually specifically seen everything while you're studying. Um, it's definitely going to be more important just to make sure that you feel good. You get maybe a good breakfast if the test is in the morning, making sure that you're just walking into that test absolutely as close to 100% as you can be.
I completely agree. And that's kind of funny you say that, Ian. Like, I say a lot of things on the podcast, but like two things I actually take to heart when I'm gonna take a test is every time I take a test, I need at least 8 hours of sleep, no matter what it is. Because no, I mean, maybe you're a superhuman, but I don't know. For me, I need my sleep, and when I get less than 8 hours sleep, I don't think as clearly as I could. And I completely agree. If even if I don't feel confident, I feel like I'm still missing material. I'm still getting 8 hours sleep. Doesn't matter what it is. And the second thing is, you want to eat a good breakfast before. I always try to eat like stuff that's clean, usually more high in protein, which, helps your brain fire. And I think like the combination of that, I always like, it's never like, I never have moments where it's like, you walk out of the test and like, oh, I could have done that. Like, I always feel confident in like what I put down on the paper. And I feel like part of that just goes to getting enough sleep and, being able to recall. Having that additional sleep helps you recall things. Maybe like you only saw once or twice, but just like helps you unlock it. But when you have poor sleep, you're just gonna be more surface level. It's harder to like recall those like deep memories you have about a certain topic.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we could talk about some study habits that we use that we employ. Do you have any that jump, you know, right off the bat to you as something that you go to a lot that helps you out?
Honestly, I'm probably one of the out of everything I can talk about, I'm not a great person to learn from for how I study. I feel like a lot of it goes down to just for me, just I literally just do practice problems. That's literally all I do. I'll read over my slides and like look over my. I don't even most of the classes. I mean, honestly, I don't even take notes in most of my classes. I'm a firm believer of you just paying attention and like there's also studies to back this up. Just paying attention and like listening to what the teacher's saying, seeing what they're actually writing down is more important than like scribbling and writing all the notes you can yourself. So usually what I do is I'll just look over like the slides. I mean, obviously it depends on the course. I'll look over the slides if there's like any type of like review. sheet or like a study guide. I'll like make sure each section I can like write down what it is and kind of like if I don't know what it is, I'll go back and learn it. And then once I have like I go over all the material like just by looking at it, I will go do every single review, every single practice problem I can do. And if I can't answer a question, I go figure out how to answer it. And I literally just do that until I literally answered all the questions or I feel completely confident in, the material.
It's awesome. Yeah, so for me, I agree with what you said about note taking, right? I think a lot of times the notes that we take down, most of them are actually not going to be super important. Like a lot of times you're just kind of writing down things that really are not gonna factor in or really make much
Yeah.
of an impact when you're looking over the content. So me, I like to make sure that I get kind of the most important things down in ways that I can understand so that really the primary way that I study for tests is, um, and mainly, I think both of us, a lot of these tests are like specifically STEM, like science and math, but
Yeah.
I really like to just go back through the notes that I've taken and the concepts that I've deemed most important, um, and just kind of recopy down information that I think Chris has left us again. So we're gonna wait a second before he jumps back in here. Um, let's see. Do I have a joke to tell? No, he's back, so we can skip that. Hey, Chris.
Every time I like swipe on my computer, it just like hits the back button and kicks me out. I think that's what I'm doing wrong. Because I'm on Safari right now. Usually I use Google, so I don't usually have this problem. I don't know what's happening. Anyways, sorry Ian for cutting you off.
That's all right. Um, yeah. So like I was saying, I'm a big like I'll make kind of like a study guide, but I don't really use it as a study guide. Really, like it's just a way for me to work through some of the more important ideas. Make note of what I think jumps out the most, what I might be struggling with, but really at the end of the day, the thing that I think is most important for me to be able to do before I take a test is kind of like Chris was saying. Like I like to have all those big topics, kind of make a list of those, and if I can just sit there and kind of go through those in my mind and understand what they are, right? What types of things I might have to do with them, how I would be able to apply them. If I can do that, then I feel ready, even if I haven't necessarily done every, conceivable type of problem that might show up on the test. If I understand the
Yeah.
big concepts, I feel pretty confident that I can do just about anything. Um, so, I mean, that's what I like to do. I think that it's really important for everybody to find a strategy that works for them. I think that, obviously the best way to do that is to start trying. Start getting ready earlier. If you're somebody who has traditionally been like a day or two before the test, that's really the only time you start to study. Maybe try a week earlier. Start trying some new things, seeing if they work. I think by finding a way that works for you to study, you'll actually probably reduce the time that you spend studying just because you'll be more effective, efficient. The information will sink in better. So, I mean, it's really something that you have to put a little bit of time into to find out what works best for you. But I think that it pays off in a big way. You end up getting time back in surplus. So, I mean, I think it's really about finding what works for you. And I think that there are a lot of ways to accomplish that.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like, there's a lot you can look up study techniques online, but it's really just you have to figure out what works for you. And I feel like that's completely different for like almost everyone. But like in general, I feel like yeah, I feel like there's a couple themes that everyone take from is yeah, definitely I feel like starting earlier definitely helps. And it's not necessarily you have to do more um things, but if you can spread it out more, rather than just like doing everything in one day, everything just clicks a lot better. And especially I don't know, I also believe like in like right before you go to bed, I don't know if there's anything to back this up, but like if there's something I need to memorize, I will look at it right before bed and then like go to bed and then wake up and immediately like look at it and like see if I like remember it. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work. I feel like it works for me, but anyways, that's something I do. That's kind of weird, I guess.
No, I think that makes sense. I feel like I've definitely seen things about people listening to something as they go to sleep and then sinks in more. So I think that seems like something that logically would make sense. So I think we've given kind of the viewers a lot of good opinions of our own on study habits and techniques, but I'm interested, Chris, do you have anything to share maybe about more specifically, you get into this high stress period of the semester, final season, or really getting ready for any test in college or high school, right? How do you manage that stress? How do you harness it and use it to really bring out the best in yourself rather than fall to the anxiety that really a lot of people and students struggle with?
Yeah, I feel like, can you repeat your question, Ian?
Sure. I was just curious, like, do you have, so we get into this high stress period, right? Right before finals or tests or anything else. And a lot of people, right, they start feeling the stress, right? Maybe they have trouble eating, right? They have an anxiety that in a lot of times actually hinders their ability to do well. And I'm wondering, do you have any advice, any tips that you've come across to manage this stress, right? To use it to do your best rather than, you know, having it be something that actually hinders your performance?
Yeah. No, good question. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I was completely zoned out for a
It's
second.
okay.
Anyways, but that's a great question. I feel like for me, I think it's all about, being efficient. And as soon as I see my efficiency to like kind of tinker, I do other things, like, because it's not all about just studying constantly. I feel like you could continue to do things you enjoy. Like, you don't want to you make yourself miserable and lock yourself in a room and just constantly just look over your notes. There's a balance, and I feel like you want to continue to do things you enjoy, especially for breaks. And one of the things I do is I always go to the gym. Not every day, like during finals, I couldn't go every day because some days I was just too busy. But when I actually had time and I was like, I would, I would go to the gym. Or, alternatively, if I didn't have time to go to the gym, I would maybe just, I don't know, just talk to one of my friends, talk to someone, and, just sit down and like enjoy, I don't know, being around someone and not having to think about, you know, what is coming up. And I feel like if you don't escape what, like, you know, your like tests and like, I don't know, if you just think all about it all the time, your anxiety definitely like builds up. That can kind of lead to like more like, you get more stress, and overall you're just going to do worse on the test. So yeah, it's definitely a balance of like, you still want to live your life. You don't want to completely like isolate yourself.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm gonna hop back to something we were talking about earlier. We were talking a lot about how, you know, people kind of think that doing well is this talent, it's this skill, right? And they think that only certain people are smart and able to do well, right? There's like a phrase that's like, a lot of people just don't have that confidence in the classroom. They think that, right, their talents and their skills lie elsewhere. And so it actually touches on an interesting kind of mindset topic that I've come across before. And so just from an article from Stanford research and then also in a Huberman Lab podcast, kind of about this big idea of the growth mindset. And so the growth mindset, for anybody who's not aware, is this mindset, right, that basically all of our skills and abilities are just these pools and these wells of potential, right? That we all have the ability to tap into different skills, to work hard and to improve, right? We can grow, just like the name of the mindset says, right? It's a growth mindset. But a lot of people are kind of stuck in this place where I think that most things are about innate skills or abilities. So they think that
Mhm.
they'll never be good at something like math, right? Because they're just not a math person, right? Or they'll never be able to do X or Y because that's just not where their natural skills lie. But if you have a growth mindset, if you're able to develop that, if you're able to work on that, right, and you're able to just tell yourself day after day, right, if I work hard enough, like Chris was saying earlier, if I work hard enough, I can accomplish anything, I can improve, I can get better, right? If you really commit to having that mindset and you really adopt that for your life, I mean, I don't want to say you'll be unstoppable in everything that you do, but you'll be pretty damn close. Like I think that improving your mindset and changing how you think about yourself, the world, and your challenges, it's really one of the biggest tools that you can add to your toolkit and just finding success and happiness in general. Like the mindset is something that people neglect a lot, but I really do not think that you can overstate the importance of it.
Yeah, I mean, everything I see about the growth mindset, it's all positive things, and it's all like people say it's one of the best like I ideas that you can get in your head because like having the idea that you can, confidently do whatever as long as you put the time, effort into, and you have that like positive outlook on whatever, it's gonna boost you. And like Ian was saying, you maybe not be perfect, but if you're okay with failing and you're just gonna keep getting back up and you're gonna believe in yourself, there's no doubt that, you'll become successful. And success, it's all not always like, you're gonna be great at one thing and that's successful. But success comes in a lot of ways. And I feel like just if you're able to adopt that mindset in general, you're definitely gonna be successful in however you define it. But yeah.
Yeah. All right, Chris, we're coming to the end of this meeting. Do you want to end this one and then we'll hop on and finish up quickly?
Yeah, sounds good. Are we doing another, like editing, or is it always gonna be two parts?
No, we can do another edit. I'll connect them in iMovie.
Oh, okay.
All
Okay.
right, what should we do?
Um, I'm gonna dab. I'm gonna do a cool dab, and then it's gonna cut, and then I'm gonna do the other dab. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Three, two, one. That work?
This meeting is being recorded.
Big dab. All right. I think you got it. I think you got it, Ian. That probably looked really cool, did it?
All right. Thank you for, well, I mean, this is not, thank you for watching from 10 seconds ago until now. Um, yeah, me and Chris are moving towards the end of our show, kind of wrapping up here. Chris, I think there's one more big thing that I want to kind of talk about. Is there anything you want to discuss before then?
Yeah. I mean, like just looking in the podcast, like before, looking, some of the articles I looked at before we did this episode, I did some research into, the benefits of like, keeping your stress down and keeping, having good sleep. I feel like I think a lot of things go back in life go back to your stress and your sleep. And, looking at, the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, most college students are only getting around 6 hours of sleep, which, I can probably what I've been getting. That's way below, the recommended time. And over time, this students become like chronically underslept. And, this negatively affects, you in a lot of ways, not only like mentally, but also physically. And I think one of the cool studies I saw was that Carnegie Mellon and did a study actually on students' performance and the amount of sleep, and they found that the students that were chronically underslept, they found that for every hour less like of nightly sleep you get on average, your GPA is dropping around point 1 points, which is like kind of crazy to think about. And it goes to show the like it's not all about cramming. Your GPA is innately tied to your sleep. So, getting sleep is important. And additionally, Columbia found that, if you're a college student with poor sleep, your rates of depression and anxiety are around almost 2 times. And then, the APA Stress in America survey of 2022 found that, 70% of students say that, like, stress kind of hinders their sleep, and then poor sleep, helps it increases the stress of the next day. So it's kind of like a vicious cycle of, like if you're high stress, you want to stay up, you want to keep doing work, and then you go to bed really late, and then you wake up and you have more stress, and then it's more like the cycle just continues. So I think it kind of goes to show, you have to like you got to be able to cut yourself off sometimes. And then just to kind of wrap it up is, two other studies I found was, the Cleveland Clinic in 2022 found that, if you have chronic sleep deprivation, you're going to have 33% higher risk of heart disease, almost a 50% risk higher of obesity, and almost nearly double the rate of type 2 diabetes, which is kind of crazy. And then, the final study I want to bring up is a study done in 2024 by Matire, and they found that, getting better sleep reduces stress, it boosts your immune function, and improves academic performance. And not only did they find that, over time, it does this like you, if you make these changes, you'll see benefits in those within weeks, which I actually kind of found surprising, and if you get better sleep within weeks, you'll start to feel better in a lot of ways. So I think it goes to show how innately it's sleep is connected to everything. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. Not much I could add there. I mean, you heard it from Chris, right? Sleep is absolutely paramount. I don't know how much more evidence you would need to get more sleep, especially now we're moving into the summer, right? I know people are busy, they're doing stuff in the summer, right? But there's no better time than kind of a break from the busyness of school to fix your sleep schedule, to get
Yeah.
it to a place where you can come back to the semester feeling confident about where you are, and make sure you're still getting enough sleep even when kind of the work starts to ramp up and you really start to get into that nitty gritty period. Um, but the last thing that I had to talk about is actually kind of mirrors that very nicely. And so a lot of times, right, like Chris said, there are things that we can do to reduce our stress, but at the end of the day, we're always going to feel stress because it's a pretty natural feeling, right? Stress, in reality, is kind of just it's this uptick in us thinking about those negative things in our life, those things that are causing us stress, right? But it's a natural reaction that we have evolved to have, that has been
Yeah.
honed right over centuries, over eons. But a lot of times, kind of that feeling that you associate with stress, a lot of studies have shown this, right? The feeling that you associate with stress, kind of that negativity, a lot of times that is actually stress that you're feeling about the stress itself. So you
Mm,
start to feel stressed, right? You have these things coming up you're thinking about, and your immediate reaction, your immediate thought is, "Oh no, I'm stressed." And that creates kind of this spiral where you're getting so stressed about the fact that you are stressed. In reality, you're not even actually that stressed about the things that are stressing you out. It's your perception of those things, the fact that you're feeling nervous about them. That's what you're
mm,
getting stressed about. And so a lot of times what scientists, researchers call this is kind of the stress as debilitating mindset, right? You view your stress as this negative thing, and thus you have these negative emotions about it, and it creates this spiral, that really does hinder your performance. But the alternative to this is to kind of develop and put into use a mindset called the stress as enhancing mindset. So when you start feeling stressed and you kind of pick that up, you identify that, right? Instead of automatically going to, oh no, I'm stressed, right? Try to think of it as this stress is good, right? I got a lot of things coming up. I need to start working, right? This stress is what's going to push me in the next couple of weeks to make sure I can get everything done, right? This stress is going to be good for me over these next couple of weeks, and it's actually going to enhance my performance. And then you'll find that you're not really associating negative feelings with the stress. It's kind of just there. You're using it, for your own gain. You're using it to boost your performance. And then, when it's all said and done, you know, no harm, no foul, right?
yeah, I love that. I feel like I've done that a little bit, like like with I don't even know. I mean, I haven't actually heard about that, but I think I've done that a little bit, just like ironically. Um, and I think that can definitely help. I think that's something I probably want to try out at some point. It sounds like a great idea, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's so much we could talk about in this sphere. I mean, so many
Yeah.
ways that you can make improvements, whether it's making sure you're more prepared, getting ready for these types of things, or just adjusting your mindset, your thought process so that these things don't cause you as much worry, or just making kind of general life changes that will improve your quality of life and you know all the difficult parts of your life with it. I feel like there's so much that we could talk about, but I think that this is a pretty good kind of sample overview. And I don't think I have anything big really that I want to touch on in more detail. Do you have anything else you kind of want to finish with, Chris? Or
No, I mean, I feel like we hit a lot of, you know, we covered a lot of ground in a really short amount of time, and I feel like each one of those things we could have gone in a lot more detail. But I think overall, yeah, I think it comes down to is just, you know, you want stress, but you want to use it in a positive way. And you also additionally want to have good sleep, good habits, and yeah, and believe in yourself, and everything will work out.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us for this video. Obviously, kind of a little shorter than a lot of our other videos, kind of stripping it down, getting back to basics. Um, don't know, Chris. What do we have a plan for our next episode? Any promises or hints or teases to the viewers?
I don't want to announce anything official yet. But I've got a lot of people in the works that could make a good episode. So I mean, whatever it is, whatever we do, regardless, it's gonna be a great episode. Um, you know, yeah, like I mean, this is it was a good break of having guests, to go back to, which is having us too. But yeah, next week hopefully we'll have someone cool on, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next time on Chris and Ian's awesome podcast.